Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my fellow techs, my fellow shop owners, fellow soon-to-be shop owners. That's what this video is about. It's about you and a lot of the common questions that I get across of my social media pages talking about shop ownership, people asking me what I did to get started, so on and so forth. So I'm gonna be answering those questions in this video. How much money do you need to start? How do you get clients? Should you go mobile? How much should you charge? Should you specialize? And should you market, pay for marketing, so on and so forth? So I'm gonna answer those questions today. If you have any more questions, please throw them down in the comments. I'll happily respond or even make a follow-up video as well, compiling a list of those questions. And then if you like this type of content, please like the video, share, subscribe, all of that jazz. It does help. And I wanna do more content like this, but I got to get the word out there, and I want to use it to help hopefully potential shop owners or shop owners that may be struggling, because I have been there, and so that's what my goal is to share that. So let's get right to it. How much money should you have to start? So there's a lot of differing opinions on this. I personally say $50,000. Now listen, I understand the reality of that is a lot of people are not gonna have the discipline, the willingness to sacrifice and put in the time and effort to save $50,000, but there's a reason I recommend it. I started with $50,000. Lots of other people say you should start with $100,000. But what happens is if you don't have enough money, and it's going to cost you a lot more than you think. Trust me, I know. I have a list in my house that I wrote down things that I thought was what I was going to need and what they were going to cost, and I wasn't even in the same stratosphere of pricing. So it's going to cost a lot more. For the first 8 months, I didn't take a paycheck. For the first year and a half, I didn't even pay myself half of what I was making as a tech working for the dealership. So you're going to obviously make sacrifices as an owner, but what happens is you're gonna have slow months, you're gonna have slow days, slow weeks, whatever the case may be. That's going to happen. And when you do, if you don't have money in the bank, you start to think differently. When you've got a family to support and bills to pay, and rent is coming due, or your mortgage is coming due, or whatever, or the shop's rent is coming due, lease, all of that stuff, you start to think differently. And I'm not talking about ripping people off, although I know there are people out there like that. I'm talking about taking on work that you absolutely should not. And when you do, you make desperate decisions like that because you're making decisions based off of fear. And when you make decisions based off of fear, it ends up biting you 10 times out of 10, because what happens is you take on jobs that you shouldn't, then it ends up going south. You end up pouring a ton of either equipment or parts or whatever, or refunding or whatever the case may be, and it just doesn't end up well. You end up regretting it afterwards, and it's just not worth doing it. So that's why I say $50,000. That could be more, could be less. There are always outliers. I understand. I know countless shop owners that have done it with no money or little to no money. I understand that it can be done. I'm just recommending to you what I think you should start off with, especially if you have some sort of lease or rent. We did not have that starting off, so that helped us tremendously, even with having $50,000. How do you get clients? So one thing that I say is something that Dave Ramsey says. You may or may not be a fan of his. That doesn't really matter. This is a great piece of advice. He always says, get the boat as close to the dock as possible, meaning before you officially start the shop, do side work, get clients built up before you actually open the doors to the business. I had 60 to 70 regular clients that I had built up a little over 2 years, working on the side, working nights and weekends outside of my dealership job. So when I opened my doors, I already had a lot of clients. And then as soon as I started the shop, I started letting people know, hey, I've got openings and availability, because at that time, they weren't referring many people because I was booked out like 3 weeks because I was working just nights and weekends. And even at that, I was working just basically Friday nights and Saturday nights, or I mean Saturday and Saturday night. So I just didn't have a lot of time. I was still trying to spend time with my wife, my daughter at that time. So she was a newborn, so I wanted to be around. I didn't want to sacrifice all my time. So anyways, that being said, build up as much clientele. It's about creating relationships and letting people know what you do. Let them know. Don't be afraid to let them know, hey, yeah, I have an automotive shop. I specialize in blank if you specialize, and I'll get to that question as well. But I'm taking on new clients. I have availability on the schedule. We just started our shop and we're looking forward to helping more people, so on and so forth. Should you go mobile? This is a question I get a bunch, especially on TikTok. I think that's because there's a lot of mobile TikTok mechanics that do TikToks on the platform. I personally could never go mobile, personally. It's just not something I have any interest in. I already have short ceilings in my shop, 10.5-foot ceilings, so that enough is limiting in itself, and I get tired of having to sit on a chair or stool or whatever the case may be. So working out in the elements, working on the ground, I have no interest in that. Can you get started that way? Absolutely, yes, but understand the mass majority of your clientele, if you're starting off mobile and looking to eventually go brick and mortar, the mass majority of your clientele is not going to transfer with you. So you're gonna have to do it twice, which means it's gonna be double the work. So just keep that in mind. When people hire a mobile mechanic, they're hiring a mobile mechanic for a reason. There's a reason they're not using a brick and mortar. So think about that. Also, mobile mechanics, think long term. You can't keep that work up forever. You're not young forever. Working on the ground, working out in the elements, doing jobs a different way because you don't have a lift and just making it work. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't last forever. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the mass majority of mobile mechanics I know do not set themselves up for the future. They're not putting anything in retirement or doing any sort of like real estate investing, anything for down the road. So when they get to the point where they can't do that and they can't work a better paying job or whatever the case may be, they have no money set up for themselves when they get older. So if you are doing that and that's your plan, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you start setting aside money and understand that's additional money you have to set aside in the business, which will, again, address the number side of things. So I personally don't recommend it, again, especially if you're planning on going brick and mortar eventually. Like I said, you're going to have to build up clientele twice. You will have a few choice clientele that will switch, but the mass majority of them won't. How much should I charge? Well, I cannot do nearly as good a job as that as someone who's been in the industry for years. So what I would recommend to you is go to Changing the Industry podcast. They have a YouTube channel. They just posted at the time of this video, April 3rd of 2024, a 5-part series so far about starting a shop and addressing the numbers side of things, helping you understand the numbers. Because if you don't understand the numbers as a business owner, I promise you're setting yourself up for failure. It's one of the biggest mistakes I made when you start out as a shop owner, especially if you were a tech before. You have to leave your tech mindset behind and now become a business owner. Should you specialize? Yes, absolutely. If you have a specialty, use it to your advantage. I specialize in Hondas and Acuras. It's a little over 50% of my total revenue of my entire shop. It helps me stay efficient. It helps me in my processes, in my day-to-day. You can just generate more revenue in a shorter period of time because you're more familiar with the platform. So if you can specialize, it's fantastic. It also helps pull clientele because those clientele that love that vehicle are going to look for a specialist, specifically like European vehicles and diesels and such like that. They are looking for someone who specializes in that vehicle. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are. So that will help you and benefit you absolutely. So if you have a specialty, use it. If you don't, I would recommend you do. Doesn't mean you have to only work on that type of vehicle. I work on Asian and domestic vehicles. No Euros, no diesels, but I work on most Asian and domestic vehicles. So should you market? This is an interesting area because in the beginning, most people can't afford marketing. I know I couldn't have. I didn't have the extra money to market. I was just trying to, stay afloat and cover the bills and keep the doors open and the lights on and all that jazz. So in the beginning, yes, you should market, but no, don't pay for it unless you have the liquid cash to fund it. But you should market yourself. Definitely get a website made, even if it's, subpar. in between on this area, but I had a great friend who helped me in marketing about a year and a half into the business, and she built me a website for free. So I was very blessed in that area. Not everybody has that opportunity. So find somebody who can make at least a halfway decent website. Don't use stock photos, please. Make sure you use photos of yourself in the shop, or smiling customers in the shop, or smiling customers in front of their vehicles. Stock photos are horrible. Understand and realize that a lot of people, if they find you on your website, that's the very first experience they'll ever have with you. So that's a big, important factor in that. As well as social media. Absolutely use social media to your advantage, especially if you specialize. Even if you don't specialize, make it well known that you are a mountain of knowledge in the automotive industry. Let people know about things. Answer questions like I'm doing in this video. Answer their questions. People that are asking you questions when they come into the shop. Write down those ideas. Make a video on it. Post it on social media. Video is huge. It is the #1 way for people that have never done business with you to get to know, like, and trust you. And that's who people do business with, is people they know, like, and trust. So yes, absolutely. There are a lot of ways you can market without paying for marketing, as well as inexpensive ways you can market. So in the beginning of our business, the first 3 years, we sent out handwritten thank you cards to every single client, not just new clients, every single client at the end of the month, every single month. We also sent out Christmas cards to all of our clients. We've done, we still do to this day, client gifts. So right now, during this time, because it's Girl Scout season, we buy like 80 boxes of Girl Scout cookies and pass them out to our clients for a month and a half, depending on how many repair orders we do. Every client gets them. We don't do that all the time, only during Girl Scout, but it's a win-win because we get to support a troop, we get to market that, and we get to give our clients Girl Scout cookies. So it's a win-win for everybody. Our clients are happy, we're happy, the Girl Scouts are happy. So we use that. I found that out from another shop owner who recommended it, and I absolutely love it. We've also done car wash gift cards. We do custom made sugar cookies. We've done like pretzels. We've done, I already said car wash gift cards. I've done like little tiny espresso cups with candy in them. I always like to do snacks, but you don't have to do snacks. There are so many other, you can do ice scrapers in the wintertime. You can do tissues during allergy season with your logo on them. You can do pens, you can do keychains. There's so many things you can do that are inexpensive just to get your name out there. You're trying to brand yourself. You want overall brand awareness, and a lot of this stuff can be done very inexpensively and not for a lot of money. So absolutely utilize all of those things as much as possible. Again, I appreciate y'all watching. I hope this answers some of your questions. I would like to go more in depth, but I also don't want to make these videos like insanely long. So again, if you have any more questions, any comments, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What have you done if you are already an established shop owner watching this video? Give us some of your recommendations and perspectives as well. As always, I appreciate y'all. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.